Hi, I'm Paul. I work with Zero Motorcycles here in the UK, and it's late November. Normally this time of year we'd be at Motorcycle Live, meeting everyone and talking about the bikes and how they work in the real world. Obviously we can't be there this year, so what we've decided to do is we're going to take this Zero SRS and we're going to take on a bit of a day trip to show you in the real world how it works. So we're going to go out to Seaside, we're going to ride about 200 miles today, and we're going to show you how the bike can be charged up. We're going to show you how the range works, and we're also hopefully going to have a little bit of fun with all the performance on it. So it's a little bit cold, a little bit wet, but had heated grips on, and actually it's been quite a pleasant ride here. We've done 19 miles and we've used about 20% of the battery, and met up with Andrew. We're going to go for a ride out to Skegness, which I think is about 50 miles from here. Andrew's kindly got the coffees in, and while we're drinking the coffee we're just going to give the bike a quick top up. We don't really have to, we've got enough range. It's showing that I've got about 64 miles of range. But what we're going to do, we're just going to top the bike up. Always better when you stop, just to keep it topped up. We've got a charging point here which is really easy to use. There is another charging point in the gas station over there, the petrol station over there, and that's a tether type. This one we need our own cable for. It's a standard Type 2 to Type 2 charging cable, which fits in the compartment, the storage compartment on a standard bike. I've got it in the top box of my bike. It's going to plug one end into the charging point, one into the Type 2 port on the bike, and then we're going to follow the instructions on the screen, tap my credit card when it tells me to, and yeah, it'll be pretty quick, and I guess it'll probably be fully charged in 15 minutes or so. So just finished off my coffee now. And the bike is almost fully charged. We're up to 88%. You can see on the screen, you can see how fast it's charging. So it's charging at 11 kilowatts, and it's telling me that it's got 8 minutes left to charge. So we don't need to fully charge it. As long as we've got over 70%, we can easily make our journey. So I'll just finish this, get my helmet, and then we can get going. So when we go to shows, one thing we're always hearing lots of things about charging, and one of the questions that people always say is, what if someone comes along and unplugs my bike, or what if someone comes along and nicks my cable? Well, the great thing is they can't, because the cable is locked in place at both ends, and the only way you're going to get that out is by turning the ignition key. So you cannot disconnect. There's a pin in there that's locking that in place. And I think that makes a bit of an additional security feature to your bike. So this charger here is a single phase charger, completely free, becoming quite commonplace in supermarkets these days. And you'll see that it's charging up at 3 kilowatts. And that's going to take us 2 hours to be fully charged. We've got 3 hours free parking here. And typically on a normal day, we would just be chilling out. You don't need to let it fully charge. You can charge it as long as you want. Bear in mind, you know how much charge you need to get home. But I know some of you guys are always asking about faster charging. And we know from looking at the app that just over there, there's a quicker charger. So we're going to leave Andrew's SRF charging up here at 3 kilowatts, and we're going to take the SRS over to the faster charger to explain how that works to you. Okay, so one thing that we hear a lot at shows is that infrastructure's not there, there's not many charging points, but that's just not true. Actually, in most places, it's not true. And these are not lit up like petrol stations. You generally need an app on your phone to help you find them, but we already found 4 over completely free to use where Andrew's bike is. There's loads around town, and we've come to this one, which is an example of a fast charger. The other one we used earlier, when we stopped for coffee, actually was also a 3-phase outlet, but we had to use our own cable. This one is tethered, so you plug it in, you press start charge, and that's it starting. You'll see from looking at the dashboard, we've got 32 minutes to fully charge. That's 47% is going to take 32 minutes. So we don't need to fully charge it to get home. We probably need about 70%. So we're just going to grab a sandwich and something to drink. And when we're done, we'll head off. So that's me back home now. We've had a great day out on the bikes. It's been a bit cold, it's late November, but had the heated grips on all day on the maximum, and actually it was quite a pleasant day, although the roads were a little bit muddy around all the farm tracks and so on and so forth. That's the bike charging up now. We've come back from Skegness. We've got about 25% battery remaining. And that was giving us a range indication of over 90 miles. We had an okay ride back. The roads were really busy, so we were sort of sitting at sort of steady 50-60 miles an hour. The bikes performed flawlessly. About 160 miles, we spent 40 minutes using the public charging points. But the main way that people charge the bikes is at home. You know, you always leave with, 100% battery or as much as you want. You can control it through the app when you charge it and so on and so forth. It's been a cheap day out. I've got a receipt on my phone here. The charge we did in Skegness, £1.53 that cost us. And the other top up that we did while we had breakfast was less than £1 for that. So it's about £2.50 in public charging. The bike, as I say, is on charge now. The battery on the Zero SRS, it holds 14.4 kilowatt hours of energy. And a kilowatt hour is effectively a unit of electricity. That's what your electricity supplier charges you by. And I know that my supplier charges me just under 15 pence a unit. So I reckon there's about 10 units of electricity going to go into that tonight. It's got a couple hours to charge there. Today what we wanted to do was to show people how you can practically live with an electric motorcycle and use it for leisure. The bikes they've got the charge tanks on them, so they can charge at 12 kilowatts, which is the fastest charging that Zero offer. Loads and loads of charging points out there. On your phone, there's some great apps. The Zero app, which you use to pair with your bike, will show you the nearest charging points on Google Maps. And the Zap Map, which is a brilliant application which allows you to not only see where charging points are, it can tell you things like if they're being used in real time. So in terms of range, we've seen it between 90 and 100 miles of range. And I think the other thing I want to say is that we didn't change our riding style in any way. I rode the same way today that I would ride on a petrol bike. The Zero, if anything, was a little bit easier to ride in the conditions because it's a bit smoother and certainly in filtering it's very narrow and easy to get around. But we weren't moderating our speed necessarily to try and get more range. I was riding, in the flow of traffic, overtaking when I needed to. And yeah, there was no inconvenience at all in terms of, riding it compared to a petrol bike. And on those sketchy roads, the traction control was working really well. You could feel the bike just breaking traction. And then you just felt the power cutting slightly. You saw the light coming on the dashboard and it was seamless. And that's something that the Zero, compared to older generation motorcycles, you know, feels very secure and very, very safe. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions that you would normally have when you come to shows. The best thing to do is to go to a dealer and experience it for yourself. It is a very different experience to understand the acceleration and the rush that you get with the torque. We've had a great November ride out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.